you've ever looked at the bottom of jeans, then you'll know that keeping up with fashion can be like in a very expensive obstacle race. 1 minute they're thin, next minute they're flared, next minute you've got to have a red stripe down one leg, and then you've got to have hooks to put hammers in. It sometimes seems, therefore, that fashion seems to be dominated by a very large company somewhere that wants to take all of our money and wants us all to look the same. What kind of fashion would we like for ourselves? Do we think we're paying too much for it? Is there anybody here that's had experience of going in and buying some article of clothing which has cost you a lot of money, and then you get home and it falls apart, or it goes out of fashion the next week?
Shoe shops are prone to that a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You can't, you know, you take them back and then they won't give you the money back. They say you've got to spend it here. And it's perhaps a pair of shoes you've wanted and you've seen it in another shop, but you've got to spend that money there.
Yeah.
And they're very expensive at the moment, so
Yeah.
you're stuck with a pair of shoes you don't really want.
Yeah? Yeah, OK, come on then.
I washed a dress for £22 and I wore it for a party. I took it home and washed it and it shrank. I took it back to the shop and the woman said rubbish, it hadn't shrunk. So I put it on to prove to her and the shoulders had moved from the ends to about here.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't give me my money back, so, and she said that they'd send it back to the manufacturers and she gave me a little sort of receipt thing. And in the end I ended up buying hundreds of t-shirts and things that I just didn't want.
Perhaps we could come to Dave Baker, who's a trading standards officer in Tower Hamlets. Now, tell me, what is the situation with this? Do you come across this often, that people can't get their money back?
Yes, we do. You've got the law on your side. You've got the Sale of Goods Act 1979, which states that if goods are faulty, you are entitled to your money back, repair or replacement. So the law's on your side.
When you go into a shop and they say you can't have that, you just get intimidated and you spend the money. So what can people do about that?
If they do get intimidated, they should walk out. They shouldn't lose their temper, for one thing, which a lot of people do. They should come out and give Trading Standards a ring or any of the other consumer advice centres, and we will mediate. But the problem is that that's all we can do, is mediate. When it comes down to the crunch, it's and it's a court case, it's you against the retailer.
Yeah. Most people, of course, wouldn't want to really go to court.
In the majority of cases, the mediation works.
Gideon Lippman in the theatre this afternoon. Perhaps I could ask you a question. You've been in the fashion business for a long time now.
I have.
What do you think, a very simple question, what do you think about the clothes that young people are wearing today?
It's become very much freer, it's become very much more casual. Certainly for leisure activities, it's very much easier. You can wear almost anything if you like. And I think the most important thing that the young people should bear in mind is to wear something, whether they buy it or whether perhaps they have a go at making it themselves or adapting it or whatever, is to feel comfortable, to feel happy in what you're wearing. It isn't always a question of spending a lot of money. It's not dictated anymore. I think we have now certainly reached the stage where the consumer can call the tune.
Well, perhaps I can say that. Do you feel happy and satisfied with the fashion that you have? Yeah, come on then.
I don't agree with the man who just said about that we should feel casual, because I think all the magazines put forward really new fashions which just aren't comfortable at all, and they're squeezing you into really tight stuff and really uncomfortable stuff. And I think it's totally against what that man said.
You're nodding back there as well.
Yeah, I agree with that totally, you know. You can't really, I mean, he says you should feel comfortable, but the way we're really pressurised, I think. That's what annoys me. You're pressurised, it's a bit of a pun there, I know. And on these shoes, you know, and the tight jeans with the ladies, I know we all like that, but I'm sure it's not comfortable. I don't feel comfortable in some clothes I wear.
Anybody else feel the same way? I want to come back on him.
Well, why does he wear them?
Why is he wearing them?
No, because it's in fashion, that's why.
Because it's the fashion.
It's what the magazines put forward, that the in-look is.
Well, we got in the theatre this afternoon Carol Semaine, who is a clothes designer, a London clothes designer. And what do you say to people like this?
It isn't the magazines that dictate to you what you wear. I mean, it's street fashion that in the end gets into the magazines, and then they sort of say it back to you. But you'll find that 9 times out of 10 it happens on the streets in the first place.
Do most people sort of shop around? I know a lot of my friends go to Oxfam or something like that. Do a lot of people do that here? Or do you still prefer new clothes? Over there, with a Sid Vicious shirt on.
I think the best place to get clothes is from jumble sales.
Yeah.
Because you can get stuff there cheaper than at Oxfam.
Yeah, although at the same time, it's true, they're very expensive these days at Oxfam. Yeah, although of course your Sid Vicious T-shirt, which you've got on there, is obviously not from a jumble sale or from Oxfam. It's in fact something that's been produced by the paraphernalia of the sort of the rock industry.
Yeah,
Isn't
but
that right?
I wouldn't buy it. I got this given to me. But like I get sort of like these trousers and that. You get got these from Army Surplus, cost £1.99.
Yeah.
Whereas sort of a lot of people would go up to places like Boy in Kings Road and get a pair of the same trousers with a couple of zips on that cost £25 or £30.
Just for the label.
Yeah.
A lot of people tend to go more for the label than the thing. You know, whether it's a certain kind of jumper or shirt or something, you have to pay sometimes about £8 more for the thing you want. Are there people here who would prefer to buy, you know, the sort of the right thing to wear, even though it's the same as another product, just because it's got the label on it? Somebody nodding over there.
The thing that gets me about clothes and things is that if you want to get something that looks good and feels right, everyone says, you know, it has to be, you know, Wrangler or something like this, you know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, a lot of the clothes that you do find in shops aren't by the top makes, and they're just as good. And the top makes usually say, oh, you know, a couple of quid more because it's Wrangler or Lee Cooper or, you know, whatever. They just put the prices higher because it's made by them.
Perhaps we could just come to you. You've got some shirts here that are absolute forgeries. I'm sure everybody'd like to see these. Can't you just say a quick few words about
sure.
this?
Well, we've got... These have been picked up in, well, throughout London. You've got Fiorucci there.
Yeah, but of course it isn't really Fiorucci.
No, that's not made by Fiorucci at all.
So people are getting ripped off by buying that.
You've got Saint Laurent, Adidas ones there, and you've got Levi's. These are the ones that most people buy. Somebody at the back there was saying that he'd rather buy these, but if you have a look, I don't know whether the camera can see that, but this transfer on it is going to come off within about 2 or 3 washes.
Right, a few last points. Yeah, come on then.
The best place to go these days is the markets, because they have very often the same clothes that are in the shops. I mean, there's a market in Windsor, and they have some things. There's one stall that have things from London, and you can see the same things in the window in London, and it's about half the price. They just take the labels out, they cut the labels out and sell them, you know, for a lot less.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I agree with shopping around, definitely. I'm a bit against markets, especially when they cut the labels out, because it usually means the stuff's knocked off.
Yeah.
And eventually that will put the price up of the clothes in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, because they have to accommodate the amount of stuff that gets nicked.
I'm afraid the debate must continue at home and in here.